Vasudevendra Yogindram Natva Jnana Pradam Gurum Mumukshunam Hitarthaya Tattva Bodho Bhidiyate. So we have entered the second section of the book, Inquiry into Reality. And this reality being without a second, in order to arrive, in order to discover how is it so that there is only one, in order to see this, what the Vedas does is it introduces ontological terms, and it uses these terms to help us analyze our experience. So the common way, the standard way of analyzing our experience is something's either real or it's just non-existent. So what happens now if we just stick with these two terms? This means that everything is real. Everything is worthy of pursuit. You know, person 1 is real, person 2 is satyam, person 3 is satyam. You're not going to call a person tucham, are you? You're going to call a person satyam. Everything has a reality. If everything has satyam, everything has absolute value to pursue. So we can see why, not knowing this, what happens is that we treat every experience as though it is something, it's a big deal, but in actuality, the experience is nothing. It's just essenceless because it has a dependent reality on something else, so that we don't get caught up and seeing the world as, oh, I want to explore different worlds. I want to go over there. I want to go to the Himalayas. I want to have this experience. So this is this mental chatter of being stuck with these two words. Third word, ontological term. What does ontology mean? Study of reality. Rephrase that.
Study of the reality
of a thing. Rephrase that.
Science of existence.
Say again?
Science of existence.
Excellent. Okay. Anything else you want to add?
The status of being.
Status of a being?
Well-being.
Status of being. Status of existence of an object. Okay. Third term, Mithya. What do we do with this? If everything had its satyam, so now we look into every satyam object, and then we start to, in the light of this new word, inquire, what existence does it have its dependence on? Look at this, is this wood, right? This is wood. It's the same thing with anything, right? We used other example. Let's use a different example. We say this table has existence. Okay, and we say, we're all happy with this. We, let's buy the table. Let's fight over the table. It's a very special table. What is this table dependent upon? It's dependent upon the wood. Why don't you call it wood? Because the truth of this table is the wood. Why don't you call it wood? Form. Yeah, in order to what? Distinguish it from other wooden-related objects. If we look at this as no longer the table, and we look at this as the wood, then the next question arises, then where did this table go? Where did this table go? If this is just nothing but the wood, where did this table go? Or should we rephrase the question? Maybe that's an incorrect question to ask. Maybe it's not even a question of going. Maybe it's not even a question of going. Maybe we cannot even ask, where did this table go? In fact, the entirety of this table is what? Nothing but the wood. Where is the question of going? No one's going anywhere. Why would you want a thought to go? The whole Atma Satyam Tadanyat Sarva Mithya Iti. What is the final non-negatable? You. So this means what? Everything else depends upon you. So why would I want to get rid of a thought? Getting rid of a thought is getting rid of myself. So in other words, look at this. So this is an understanding, a cognitive understanding, that the content of every thought, whether a positive or a negative thought, the content is nothing but yourself. What does this mean? We gain what kind of insight? We gain a satya-mithya relationship insight. Everything in this existence enjoys a Satya-Mithya relationship. What does this mean, relationship? Everything has an existence in something else. So therefore, what it enjoys an apparent, for the time being, an apparent form. But now if you analyze the wood, again you've got cellulose, and then cellulose, you keep going, drilling down, you can no longer drill down further until you eventually arrive to what? Purely what? Bosons in time and space. But then time and space too becomes what? Just a concept. Becomes just a concept known to your thought. Unless you have a thought about time and space, where's time and space? So in other words, and not only that, but time and space, where is time and space when it's negated in the deep sleep? There's no time and space there, but who's there left to recognize the fact that deep sleep has occurred? The one who was there in the deep sleep continues even in the waking state. So this means in the waking state, the time is present. In the dream, time, what happens? Time undergoes a modification. Is your time and space different in the dream than now? Yes. What kind of time and space do you experience in a dream, for those of us who do remember dreaming? It's fluid. It is so fluid. This is why, because it's entirely the mind. When you're in the dream, you're entirely identified with the mind. And what did we say yesterday? The state of the mind, not yesterday, but I believe the first session yesterday, the mind is entirely fluid in nature. So in other words, you experience the fullness of the mind where? In your dream state. And how long can you hold your thoughts in the dream state? Can you inquire? Can you even say 1 + 1 in dream? No, it's so quick you cannot hold on to anything. Why? Because that is the nature of the mind. So for the mind to gain some stability, what do you have to do? You have to give it a physical body. Without the physical body, the mind is exactly, the nature of the mind is exactly like in the dream. For the mind to be able to actually say, wait a minute, what is happening right now? That took time. What is happening right now? That took time. So to give it that stability, you have to give it a physical body. So thank God we have a physical body. Otherwise, no matter, you could not learn, you could not inquire, you could not ask a question. What was here yesterday? What was here yesterday? Your body was here yesterday. Your thoughts were here yesterday. The experience was here yesterday. So in other words, now yesterday there's no connection to today. You already went through deep sleep. So in other words, that whole experience is gone. But now what? You're just repeating the same thing that happened yesterday. And what's changing in this state right now? The only thing that's changing is what? Your thoughts, Andre's saying different words, you're probably sitting in a different chair, the body's feeling differently. But what's the same? Knock, knock. I am. Knock, knock, tomorrow. I am tomorrow. I am. To understand the nature of this I am and how everything depends upon I am, what happens? In Chandogya Upanishad, we said Shvetaketu, Udalaka told his son, Shvetaketu, hey, if you take, we use plastic. If you take anything, right, like a clay, you take clay from the ground and you sculpt this clay and you create a whole city of clay objects. You create a clay house, a clay person, a clay hole, a clay kind of, a mountain, and then just the whole thing is clay. And so then Udalaka says to his son Shvetaketu, if you know one principle, one truth, instantaneously, you need not go from here to there to discover what's over there. Because if over here is nothing but clay, then over there is also nothing but clay also. This means what? Another world is nothing but clay. So why do I need to explore worlds now? It's just one substance. Where's the question of going to heaven? What are you going to see there other than what you already know about here? So in other words, if I know one content, which is Atma, which is yourself, automatically you get to know what? You get to know the entire universe of things that are thought about, that are experienced, that are enjoyed, or that are even suffered. So now look at this. Suppose we take clay and we create the ugliest object in the world. I mean, this object is going to induce every sort of emotion in you. It's going to make you vomit. Okay? Can you imagine this kind of object? Well, some ugly face, right? I cannot even imagine. But just the ugliest object ever, right? And now here it is. And you're like, oh God, all sorts of emotions come with that. Okay? Now, we just put that aside for a moment. We want to now put you into a better state, right? So now we bring the most brilliantly glamorous, electrifying deva you've ever seen in your life. She just uplifts you like you wouldn't believe. And you're just touched and you start to cry and you're really touched deeply by this figure. And you're like, oh, I'm just in cloud 9, okay? What is the unwise fella going to do? What are they going to do? They're going to attribute their experience entirely onto the form, whereas a wise fella, they still undergo 3 emotions. They're still going to have, right, a deva emotion. They're going to have the ugliest thing in the world emotion. But what is their cognitive understanding? That the content of I, who's experiencing these tears falling down, which is made out of clay, and this entire being is made out of clay, is the same content of these objects over here, which are inducing an emotion in this mind made out of clay, which is having a thoughts made out of clay. The whole thing is clay. So in other words, the wise person is going to understand no matter what experience is being experienced right now, the entire thing is just clay. And am I the one who is experiencing it different from the clay? No. Therefore, what is the whole thing here is self, I am. To understand, again, coming back to the question, what is the content of this I am? Can you speak further about this I am? How do we understand? This is easy. You've got clay. This is easy to understand. But how do you explain colors and this big universe? There's no correlation. So you need to use different examples. And this is where the continuity of the text is now going to go into. So let's see what the text says. We're still in the same verse. How does the world usually count? 1 plus 1 equals how much? 2. Plus 1, ceiling 3. Plus 1, 4. Plus 1, 5. Plus 1, 6. Plus 1, 7. My God, you can keep on going forever like this. You look inside the body, plus liver. 8 plus heart. 9 plus 1 hair of strand. 10 plus another hair of strand. 11 plus gold, whatever, 13. You just keep on going. It just never ends, okay? So in other words, everything in this case enjoys as though a different existence, a different satyam, okay? Everything has a different satyam. So the only way you can say 1 plus 1 plus 1 equals 3 is how? If you attribute this to be different from this and these two to be different from this body. So therefore, what do you have now? 3. Now look at this. Suppose a person who is a little bit wiser, they walk into a jewelry store. And suppose it's a Swami or some special saint. And this saint is well known in this village. And it's the only jewelry store. And this merchant is so ecstatic. Oh my God. Welcome! I'm so honored for you to be in my presence. Come! Take anything you wish. Take anything you wish here. Take one thing from my store. Please walk out. It will be my blessing if you can take something from my store. Now this is what? This is a jewelry store. Okay, so what? Everything is here gold. Okay, everything is gold. This wise fella, right? He thinks differently. Oh, so you want me to take one thing? Okay, so what does a wise fella do? He takes the entire store of ornaments. Because why? The entire store of ornaments are what? One thing. In other words, if I go inside the store and I count ring plus bangle plus necklace plus piercing plus etc. plus earring, right? You're only going to get one golden ornament plus another golden ornament plus another golden ornament plus another golden ornament, and you melt them all together. You melt them. What do you get? How much do you get? You get only one. So this means while gold is obtaining as a form, as a uniquely sculpted form, from the perspective of treating it as satyam, then no doubt it's going to be different from what? Another form. but the content being not different between 1, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, it means that ultimately, if you say 1, I am actually what? Only referring to the one single content, which because of which all of these ornaments enjoy their individual, different, unique individuality, different form, and each form incites a different kind of emotion. Suppose you walk into a store, a jewelry store, and you don't do this kind of knowledge. You don't think about this. I want the ring, and no, have the necklace. No, I want the ring. And then suppose it's a wise merchant now. A wise merchant says, "What's the difference? It's just gold." So, but this fella who wants to buy, where is his or her value? Her value is in the ornaments. You understand? Their value, they don't want the necklace, they want the ring. So they're giving value to the ring. But tell me this, does the ring have any weight of its own? The weight of the ring belongs to the weight of the gold. So where's the real value here? Is it in the ring? The real value belongs to that because of which the ring enjoys its unique shape, unique size. So the weight of every ornament in this place is nothing but the weight of the gold. So in other words, the ornament has no existence of its own. It's entirely dependent upon something else. So in this case, again, we have the ornament being Mithya now. Now what? Gold takes an ontological order of Satyam. Now, if you take this Mithya out, what happens? Then every ornament becomes worthy of fighting over. I'm pulling the necklace. I punch you. I want the ring. No, get away. It's only a limited supply of rings here. I want the ring. And then you bring your ring to your wife and whatever, husband or wife. And they're like, oh, you love me so much. Oh, you care about me because you brought me a ring. Now suppose the husband brought back, or maybe the fiancé brought back just a block of gold, and he places it on the desk. What kind of emotion is that going to incite? But why? I mean, it's gold. I mean, the ring was gold. Now this block, in fact, this is even more valuable. This is a lot heavier. It's got real value. But look at this. The mind, it goes straight onto the form. Therefore, its entire behavior, all of its words are indicative of where its focus is. If its focus is on the form, then its behavior is indicative of its focus. 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 equals how much? 1. Where is the question of many here? So this 1 is what we call Advaita. This is Advaita. So in other words, in this example, 1 plus 1, you will never arrive to 2 because the whole thing is just only 1 obtaining as apparently 2 from the aspect of Mithya. From the aspect of form, it seems like it's 2. But if you analyze it, it's nothing but 1. So if you really want to summarize Advaita in one single word, you don't have to remember the Mahavakyas, right? Just 1 plus 1 equals 1. When we chant Purnamadah, right, Purnamidam, right? So let's analyze, because it's a very popular, it's from Isha Upanishad. So when we say Purnam Adaha, so in other words, what is this Adaha? So at that time, what is Purnam? Fullness. So at that time, before creation, there was only the molten gold. There was nothing else. Just one homogeneous content at that time. Okay, we're using imagery here. It was one undifferentiated gold. And this is what we call nirvikalpa. It has no differentiation. And in that undifferentiated gold abided the potential to differentiate, abided the potential to take on forms. Purnam idam. So after this potential manifested, how so? Just like in a seed, you have the potential for an amazingly complex life form. And you've got branches inside. You've got the capacity for photosynthesis, converting light energy into chemical energy. We've got barks. We've got leaves. We've got the whole roots, and how deep will the roots go, and the intelligence. Which way will the sun face, and how will it how deep will it go into the ground, including the intelligence of not stealing the water from its neighbors. So all of this intelligence and form and complex life is what? Abiding in this one single seed. And yet you cannot see it. So now, when it says Purnam Adaha, so at that time, when there was just one undifferentiated, in which potential abided for itself to differentiate. So what happened then? Purnam Idam. Now, at this time, when that potential took hold, when that potential manifested, what do we have? We have this creation. We have what? This creation of ornaments. So, in other words, back in that time, there was one molten, undifferentiated gold, and from that molten, undifferentiated gold came ornaments, which are nothing but the very same gold that was before the creation of the universe. Purnat, Purnamudachyate. So Purnat is an ablative. So in other words, from fullness, what comes fullness. From fullness comes fullness. From what fullness? From fullness at that time comes fullness right now. Can you say that right now is other than fullness? You cannot say this, because right now it's just ornaments. And the ornaments, melt these ornaments, what do you get? The very same content that was at that time. So in other words, fullness alone was one undifferentiated gold. Now, having it fructify into a potential, what happens? The world of creation has formed. The world of creation being nothing but that very same content. Therefore, you take one, right? Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Avashishyate. In other words, you take one form out of this molten gold. Out of this gold, you take one ornament out. Where is it going to go? When the whole thing is gold, it can only go back into the gold. So you take one out of one, and you still get one. Just like 1 plus 1 equals 1, 1 minus 1 equals 1. Either way, you only get 1 here, because it's got nowhere to go. You melt all of them, and you get the very same one that always was, and even is here right now. So now, what's the difference between when the gold was molten and when the gold is taking the form of ornaments? What's the difference? The difference is in how the mind perceives it. The difference is only at the level of the mind. Because the mind, owing to its lack of mithya, it attributes reality onto forms. Therefore, problems begin. But is there an actual problem? No, because what was back then is exactly what is here now. So now, in other words, it's never going to be any better than it is right now. Think about that. There is no better in the future, because when you melt all of these ornaments together, you get the very same thing that is right here, right now, and that never will be anything other than this. And what is other than this? The molten gold. So now you say, well, geez, that doesn't sound very exciting. I want things to be better. No, this opinion is only at the level of the mind. Even the mind itself is gold. Even my own opinions about this world, which is just one, my opinions itself is nothing but this one, which is the gold. So in other words, can you ever get, so suppose we're still at the level of the gold, right? This is all metaphor right now. Can you get out of yourself if all that is here is gold? No. Can you have one thought that is suddenly going to put you apart from a different space, and the space itself is made out of gold. It's like hopping from gold to gold to gold to gold to gold. There's nowhere to go. Suppose we have a ring that is not wise, that doesn't know this. When they say, I am ring, what are they missing out on?
The gold.
The gold. So in other words, so how are they going to look at self or themselves? Take the word them away. Just how are they going to look at self? Self, it means just self, yourself. How are they going to look at self if their focus is on the ornament? Huh? Yeah, like a ring. Now, suppose, the necklace is being worn by Queen Elizabeth, which is also made out of, maybe the future one, or the king, made out of what? Gold. And now there's a necklace over there. So now I'm a ring. And now I go, I'm a ring and I'm being worn. No one looks at me. People wash their hands. I get dirty. No one cares. No one even sees me. And look at this piece of gold over there. Look at this necklace over there. They're getting all the attention. They're getting asked so many questions. And what happens? Now the ring has psychological pressures to deal with. So now they have to deal with a big problem. Because, now, they want to be over there. Suppose the ring melts, that's called death, and that necklace melts. And next life, this ring now takes form of the necklace. And now they're what? Being worn by a golden queen. And now they're going, oh my God, I'm getting too much attention. I never get any privacy. This is too much to deal with. I just want to be a ring. This ring, no one, they can meditate. They're not bothered. So in other words, no matter which life you live, if you do not understand that all that is here is one without a second, the complaints are simply never going to end. So now, what does the wise ring understand? When the wise ring says, I am ring, because the wise ring is also obtaining as a form, remember, what do they really mean when they say, I am a ring?
I'm gold appearing as a form.
I'm gold taking the form of the ring. That is the only difference. So the difference is what? At the level of understanding. So this is why these ontological terms are what? They're merely revealing your level of understanding about what is going on right now. That every person sitting here, including this fella who's speaking now to these fellas here, at the level of the gold, is just what? Different ornaments with different strengths. And even the strength itself is nothing but what? Thoughts. And the thoughts are made out of gold. Skills are made out of gold. What level does one connect with? They start to connect with at the content behind all forms, rather than at the forms. Oh, faces. Oh, I'm so intimidated by these older faces. No, this intimidation drops. These psychological issues, they drop. The moment when you start to change your focus, whose focus? The focus called the mind. Now, the mind itself is made out of what? The very same gold. In other words, you cannot get out of it. So the very mind that's changing its focus, that very mind is also made out of gold. Okay? So this means focus needs to be what? Slowly changed. If you're...
I have a question. What is the meaning of the existence of form? Why that we stay as gold, as it were? Why that individuality, we're born and we have to sort of going backward rather than stay as we
Right.
are.
So the question, as So Kyung has posed, is why? It's a very common question. Why just not remain as undifferentiated gold? Right? Why do we have to go through this process of differentiation? This will be answered when I get to the word limitless, but I'll just introduce you with an idea. Reality being limitless what does limitless mean? Nothing is impossible. So this means if you restrict limitless, if you deny limitless from taking on form, is that limitless still limitless?
No.
No, because it's not allowed to experience, it's not allowed to take on form. Therefore, it's denied a potential, it's denied a possibility. What does the scripture state? The nature is limitless. Limitless means it's infinite. That means it's not bound by anything. If Dvaita, if apparent form, multiplicity is not possible, then by definition, it is no longer limitless. You understand? So limitless means there's no such thing that is, it cannot be denied the expression of taking on forms. Okay? Now there's a lot more to this answer, which I will cover, but for now, is this?
There's even the possibility of being ignorant of himself, so to say.
I will not say this for now. I'll think about that. But I'm just going to say this. See, because ignorance belongs to the individual. It does not belong to the creation. Duality is not ignorance. Duality is just, it's the same content. The ornaments are the same one. The ignorance belongs to whom? It belongs to the one who is perceiving or taking the form as the absolute.
It depends on the self.
It depends on the mind. It does not be. The mind depends on ignorance depends on the mind depends on the self. So there's an intermediary there. So in other words, the mind needs to get re-educated to remove what? Ignorance.
Is there a special reason why you insist on using the metaphor of gold? Because what you say is everything is the isness of everything, the existence, the reality, consciousness. You don't use that word until now.
I've not used consciousness. I don't know what consciousness is. I only used existence.
Sorry?
I've only used existence.
Okay. Okay, yeah. But that's what you talk about. You talk about existence. Everything comes out of it.
Yeah.
Is existence.
Yeah.
And you must know that it is existence. Existence that knows that is.
Yeah, see, okay, this is now going way past our program. Okay, I'm going to go right back. Yeah, no problem. I know where you're at. It's because now we're at the level of, I'm not even going to mention the name now. So the answer I'm going to give is what I gave so far. Limitless, by definition, is limitless. Okay, the multiplicity is not denied. There is two more answers to this, but I'm not going to give them right now. Okay. Let's analyze Mithya. Okay, let's just get a little bit more Mithya. What is Mithya? Okay, now look at this. This is a container made out of?
Plastic.
Yeah, plastic. Now if I bend, suppose I keep on bending this, what's now changing? What's changing? The form. What's the same? The plastic. So when we say anitya is modifying, what's modifying? Mithya is modifying, but wherever there is Mithya, that's exactly where Satyam is. So is anything really changing? No. But at the level of Mithya, there's an apparent change. But in actuality, no matter what you change it, what obtains through and through in the three periods of time? Because right now, I can take this away, right? And this wall, see this wall, right? Now it is. Now the wall isn't. Okay? But where did the wall go? Or did it go anywhere? Form undergoes through three periods. In other words, it begins and it ends. The wall is, the wall isn't. But did the wall really go anywhere? It went absolutely nowhere. In fact, there's no question of going. The whole thing is what was plastic all along. So in other words, nityam is that which obtains through and through the changing forms. And there is never a time when nitya is not, because it is the foundation of anitya. So now you understand what nitya and anitya means? Okay, that which is eternal and that which is impermanent or changing. Why do we call this container? To differentiate from another. Okay, so this means if I call one thing a container, I call another thing a plastic, a flask, and they're both just plastic. So what do we call this now? We call this a form. And whatever form it takes the shape of, we give it a name to differentiate it from another form. So now why do we have to do this? So that we can actually work and participate in this world. This is a very obvious answer. does this name and form subtract from the plastic? Does it make the plastic any less than what it is?
No.
Does the name form add onto the plastic?
No.
No. So in other words, whatever name form there is, it neither subtracts nor it adds onto the form. Container equals plastic plus name form. World equals 1 gold plus name form. When we talk about names and forms in this world, what are we talking about really behind all of them? We're talking about what? We're talking about gold plus just a form obtaining as a certain shape, certain dimension, and to differentiate it from another form, we give it a certain name. But whatever name you say, you're ultimately referring to the gold. Okay. So, what is Mithya on the basis of this example? Mithya equals name, form. Wherever Mithya is, wherever name and form is exactly where Satyam abides. In fact, there's nothing but Satyam. You understand? The Mithya is only at the level of the form, but the whole thing is just Satyam. Okay? One of my favorite creation stories is from Christianity, from Genesis. And it says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. I tell you, so amazing, this statement, so profound. What is this, in the beginning was the Word? What word? In the beginning was the Word. Huh? In the beginning was, what does the word represent?
Knowledge.
No, represent, okay, knowledge, potential for? What do we call this? This is a word. Name and form. This is a word. Okay? What? Potential for names and forms. In the beginning was the word. We attribute words for objects, for different objects. Tree is a word. Sun is a word. Cloud is a word. Everything is a word. In the beginning was the word. What does this word refer to? The potential for what? Forms. In other words, in the beginning was nothing but the potential for forms. And this word, this potential for forms, for the tree, for the sun, for periodic table of elements, all of this potential was with God. It was not different from God. In fact, it was God alone. So this is, I tell you, a profound statement. In the beginning was one undifferentiated, homogeneous substance. And within that substance, out of it came the potential for the Word, for names and forms. And those names and forms were with God, were with the gold, and they were God. They were the gold. In other words, they were nothing but the one homogeneous content. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The ornament is the gold. You understand? So the God in this case refers to what? The molten gold. And the word refers to the ornaments. So in other words, you can see this beautiful connection here. When we bring in the light of Vedanta, of course, we need some help there.
Excuse me. Is that like in the beginning was the word, and you say that's the potential of forms?
That's the potential of names and forms.
Name and forms.
Yeah.
So that means that's the potential of duality?
That's the potential. That's the potential of what we're experiencing now. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Where does this potential comes from?
This is not the right topic to talk about that. It's going to come when we talk about creation. And we are very early. We are very early in the program, I tell you. Yeah. Okay. But I love that you bring these questions because you brought the question. I'm waiting to answer that, and I have to answer that. Don't worry. So I know. Okay. So are we relatively clear, relatively fulfilled or satisfied with these three ontological words?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm not saying completely, but somewhat. Yeah. Okay. No problem. We will cover more, and it's going to become more clear. Okay, so this was introduction. Okay, now next verse. Okay, our verse, a long verse. Atma kaha sthula sukshma karana sharirat. Sthula sukshma karana sharirat. Vyattiriktaha panchakoshatitaha san avasthatraya sakshi sat chit ananda swarupaha sanyastisthate sa atma. So that is Atma, Sa Atma. Okay, that is Atma after explaining all of these words. It's showing what is Atma and what Atma is not. We pointed out in the beginning that due to this Nitya mixture, Mithya, like how do I come to Satya? So there's a mixture there. So now, for this reason, for this apparent mixture, we have to perform the analysis. Atma is, we said, Satyam. Atma is Satyam. This means it's independent of everything else. We did this dependent-independent relationship. Now the final independent is what? It says Atma Satyam. Everything after Atma is dependent on Atma. What is ignorance? When we say someone doesn't know who they are, it means that one takes the Mithya object as Satyam. So this means they take names and forms as the final Satyam, and they do not go beyond that. Therefore, what happens? We have a shallow level of depth thinking. I'm not aware of the content of this body. I'm not aware of the content of the thoughts. So not being conscious, not knowing, not being educated, what is the truth of all of this experience of this person is what's called ignorance. Okay? So in other words, ignorance in one short summary is taking names and forms as the final Satyam. That's what ignorance is. Okay. Atma is distinct from the three bodies. Okay, we got Stula, Sukshma, Karana. Stula is the gross, Sukshma is the subtle, and Karana is the causal. We will talk about these terms. Okay, it's just different from the three bodies. It Panchakosha Tita, it transcends the five covers. We will talk about these five covers. Five covers is just a more specific way of talking about the three bodies. It's the same model. Three bodies, five covers, it's the exact same model, except it's more specific. So, in other words, Atma is other than the three bodies. So what's your question now? Oh, what are these three bodies? It's other than the five covers. What are these five covers? And it's what? It's the witness, the word specifically, witness of the three states of experience. What is Atma? So this is what Atma is not. So now we have to go to, there was Tastha Lakshana, that was the indirect. Now we have to go Svarupa Lakshana, direct meaning. It says, from the standpoint of Atma, what is Atma? Sat Chit Ananda. And why do we have three words? Because you need 3 words minimum to understand Atma. You cannot understand Atma unless you have these absolute essential words. Just like if I want to explain something with as accurately as possible, I will need a minimum of, suppose, 5 words. For example, if I want to describe sun with one single word and I say hot, and I just leave it like this, what are you going to now think? It doesn't point to the sun at all. There's many things that are hot. Now suppose I say hot round. Okay, it could be an iron ball that's hot and round. Suppose I say hot round sky, in sky. And I have to keep going like this. And now eventually I will come to a point where you will say, you're referring to the sun. It's like the puzzle. You're putting a puzzle together, and I'm adding a little bit more details, and you go, I'm not sure what this is, but I add one last piece of the puzzle, and what happens? Even though I have not finished completing the entire puzzle, what happens? Mind filled in the blanks. In other words, your mind got enough information to fill in the total understanding. So in other words, what happens? In that moment, got it. It's an Eiffel Tower, right? Instantly, knowledge of the whole thing takes place. So now, this is exactly how Vedanta works. We need to show, we use these 3 words. Some people understand it with a single word. Some people need 2 words. Some people need 3 words. Now, if these 3 words don't do it, then guess what? Vedanta has 1,000 more words. In other words, why do we have so many words? Because as many personalities, as many forms of ignorance, is as many words we need to negate this kind of ignorance. They say, self is what? Self is a temporary. We say we have a word for that. Well, no, self is Nitya. Self is what? Partial. No, self is Purna. Self is self is division. No, self is Nirvikalpa. So in other words, self is not changing. No, self is Nirvikara. So we just have one word after another to negate the forms of ignorance that exist. So be not intimidated by the level of words. They're just there to accommodate different personalities. Otherwise, if the fella is really qualified with fourfold readiness, 3 words minimum, Eiffel Tower, whole thing, instant like that. Okay, this is the idea. Now, why 3 words? Because they are as accurate as possible to define you. So, because there is a problem, we need a solution. And what's the solution? Tattva Viveka. If there was no power to create this entire world, which we will talk about this power later, if this power didn't exist, you and I would not be sitting here. There will be no problem. We will not be having this discussion. We will be like, in fact, you will not even be appreciating what's it like to you will not even enjoy the glory of worship. You will be denied a human experience. You will be just one homogeneous. You'll be denied what's it like to love, what's it like to fall down. And therefore what? That's not a very loving existence. You're not allowed to experience yourself as an entity, and you're not allowed to celebrate discovering yourself again. You're not allowed to have an eternal celebration anymore. You understand? So when you discover who you are, then what? After death, it's as good as saying one has an eternal celebration from beginningless ignorance. Now I have endless celebration. So now, if this world was not possible, then I would be denied both of these opportunities. For this reason, because we have multiplicity, we need to understand the reality called Tattva Viveka. Otherwise, what's the only other solution? Well, they say things like, no, you don't need Tattva Viveka, just surrender to God. Okay? This is a fair statement. Just surrender to God. Okay. But then comes the fella who says, okay, so, if I surrender myself to God, then who's going to be there left to enjoy that myself has been surrendered? Who's going to be there left to say, I've surrendered to God if I surrendered my ego? Right? Because I've gave my ego away, so who will be there now to go, yes, I gave my ego away? You cannot surrender. Why? How can an ornament surrender to to whom is it going to surrender to? There's nothing but the gold. So what's the only thing that the ornament can surrender to? It can only surrender one thing. The notion that it is enjoying this individual reality. In other words, that's... Huh?
To something it knows can surrender to.
It can what?
It can only surrender to something it knows.
It can only surrender one thing. In other words, it can surrender its ignorance. Its ignorance, its notion that it is this much, that it is a small entity that is subject to death. Who is Atma? Atma is so and so and so and so and so and so. You can fill in the blanks there. Who is Atma? Atma is how old? 50 years. Atma is 30 years. Atma is 15 years. Atma is tired. Atma is energized. Atma is sleeping. Atma is man. Atma is woman. Atma is mortal. Now Atma wants to immortalize itself. Atma is what? ignorant. Atma wants to educate itself. So now Atma goes to university and starts to get lots of education about about itself, which is what? An ornament. It wants to embellish the ornament with a little bit more, change its form. Atma wants to change its form so it can get a lot more eyes pointing towards it. So suppose Atma is hungry. Atma is prana. I am hungry. I am hungry. So now what has Atma become? It's become physiological functions. Atma is restless. So now Atma has become what? The mind. Atma is a lawyer. I am a lawyer. You know that? I'm a lawyer. Huh? I'm a teacher. So now what Atma is identified with what? The intellect. So now Atma is intellect. Atma is sad. And Atma feels worthless. What has Atma identified with now? Atma feels worthless. Memory. What is worthless, feeling worthless, other than recalling some conclusion of the past? If you got amnesia, you could not be unhappy. Because all sadness and all worthless and all self-esteem issues come from what? Memory. In other words, I concluded something about myself, something happened to me in the past, I made some conclusion, and that conclusion is now spilling into the present, and for this reason, I feel worthless. So this means when Atma says, I feel worthless, I feel sad, what is Atma identified with? Memory. Memory belongs to memory. Memory, now what? Memory began, memory ended. So memory is anityam. And Atma was there before, felt worthless, is there while experiencing the worthlessness, and Atma continues when the worthlessness is gone. Atma takes on different identities. Now, if Atma was the body, then there will be no need to do any of this. Why? Atma is the body. Go home and enjoy yourself. But the scriptures proclaim, Atma is not the body. So we say, oh, great, fantastic, but how do I arrive to that conclusion? So for this reason, there is a problem. And for this reason, we need to, discern this permanent from the impermanent. Plastic is not the container, but the container is nothing but the plastic. Now, what happens now if I say it like this? Why is the plastic not the container?
It can be many other things.
Yeah. So this means if the plastic was the container, this means plastic is denied of being a glass. It's denied of taking a different form. So therefore, plastic is formless. Because it's formless, it can take on form. Just like we have water in the ocean. Water itself is formless. Does water have height? Does water have, is water still? Is water having high tides and low tides? Or high and low? Is water tall? Is water short? No. Because water is neither short, neither tall, can we have tall waves and short waves? Can we have roaring, thunderous waves, and can we have a quiet ocean? Why? Because the content itself, the water, is free of the attributes which it seemingly takes on. It takes on highness, it takes on tallness because water itself is not tall. It takes on a small wave because water itself is not small. So in this case, we call water formless. And everything else after that enjoys a Mithya form. Understand? So in that same way, Atma is formless. It is, we will talk about this term more, it is attributeless, and every other attribute is because of Atma. While Atma remains free of all attributes. Because if you were sadness, then what does this mean? No, forget about this. If you were the mind, okay? And now we said the mind goes through a fluid state, constant thoughts. If you were the mind, then you would go crazy when you go to sleep. It will be in a deep sleep. You could not get rid of your thoughts. So in other words, just because the mind goes away, right, it means that it is other than yourself. The mind going away like anything else, and what remains? You. Right? If the mind was you, then if you go to sleep, my God, imagine that. It will be like a constant barrage of thoughts. You could not get rid of your thoughts. But your mind does go away. But do you go away? You don't go away. This is why when you wake up, you say, I slept happily. So in other words, there was something left in deep sleep. I left peacefully. I slept peacefully. I slept contently. I slept like a bird. I was free of the mind. That means I cannot be free. I cannot be my mind. Okay. Form equals formless, but formless is not equal to form. Understand this? Ornament equals gold, but gold does not equal ornament. Simple. Just like, for example, we have a beggar and a king. Suppose there's on a theater, you go on a theater show, and we all sit down, and there's a theater performance. And now we have what? We have an actor on there. And this actor takes on the role. He takes 3 different roles. He plays the beggar, the king, and the husband. The actor has to be free of all 3 roles in order for those 3 roles to even take place. Otherwise, how could he or she switch roles unless they knew that I am other than the role? So what happens now when the actor temporarily gets into a little, a tense situation on the theater, and suppose they temporarily forget their identity, and now what happens? There's the rich king now, and they're like, pride, like, who are you, little man over there? And now the little man also forgets his role, right? He's also an actor. And now what happens? They both get into a fight. The role has spilled over into, as though spilled over into the actor. Now they go to the hospital, and they have to what? They have to go through the consequences of having forgotten their place in the world. We call this karma, right? For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. There's a reaction down the line. So how do these reactions happen? They happen when we forget our role. So therefore, the actor is free of the roles, while the roles depend on the actor. In that same way, every role that you play, right now you're playing student, this fellow's playing teacher, right? So whatever, you're playing different roles. So, but you know what? But Atma is free of all of those roles. If you were not free of the roles, what would happen? Then you could not get out of any role. You would be stuck with that role forever, and that would be unfortunate. Now, next word is important, Sakshi. So we can divide reality into 2 things for simplicity. Okay, we have it in analysis now. We can divide it into you and object. Subject and object. You, Atma, and object. Now, when I say object, what I talk about? I talk about the knowns and the unknowns. This is an object. Yeah, object, 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 right? Everything's an object. Son, everything's an object. Your thoughts right now about this talk about objects, that thought about this talk is an object itself. So in other words, your inner narrative about what I'm saying right now is another object. Suppose I start to kind of just, fiddle and do weird things. Not only are you seeing these objects, but also you're also seeing objects called opinions about what Andre is doing. So now you've got 2 objects. Not only are you looking at this object, but you're going, what is this fella doing? That's another object. Okay? So in other words, there's subject and there is object. So this means object is other than the subject. Otherwise, who would be there to report, to know about all of these experiences? Okay? Can you think of something that is not an object? Even if you want to be smart, oh yeah, the C word, that's not an object. It is an object because you just mentioned it. It's just a word. Okay, you just had a thought about it. So that too was an object. What is not an object? Careful. Even if you say me, you got tricked. Because in that moment, even that was, see, through entire time, there was what? There was this, right? And when I asked the question, what is not an object? What is other than the object? He said, me. So you heard an object, the object was processed in your object of the mind, and then you wanted to reply to the object in your mind, and then you replied the object. Now, let's just go through an object analysis, subject-object analysis, okay? Now I'm going to bring the word is. Okay. See, okay. Cup is, right? What do I mean when I say cup is? You don't have to say is at all. You can just say cup. But when you say cup, what do you really imply? Yeah, it enjoys an existence. Now, why is the cup? Why do you say cup is right now? Why?
We see it.
Oh, good. Okay, we see it. Now, what do you mean specifically we see it? The eye sees it. So the eye is a pramana, is a means of knowledge, and therefore this takes place. Object of this, knowledge of this takes place. Okay? So this is an object. Object. Everything's an object. Okay. But now if you close your eyes, are your eyes seeing your body now?
No.
No. Okay. Then how do you know that there is a body there?
Could be. Just know.
Yeah. And how do you feel your body? Okay. Your body is felt. Now what? Okay. Your body is felt. You can open your eyes now. So what? You didn't need your eyes to know about your body. But your body is what? How your body is still what? An object. How is your body an object? Because it's evident. There's nothing more to say. It's just evident to me. So what does this mean? The body is evident. So what? The object is evident. The eye, the fact that the eye is looking. If you look at your eyes in a mirror, it's evident, right? Now your body is evident. It's evident because it's just evident. To whom is it evident? It's evident to other than the object. It's not evident to the cup, is it? It's evident to the subject. Now, whoever this subject is, to that one, it's evident. You understand? We're not analyzing what's the subject. To whomever it's evident, you don't even have to define them. To whomever it's evident, that one is other than the object. Senses, object. Mind, object. How do you know your mind's an object? How do you know your mind's an object?
You can perceive it.
It disappears.
Yeah, you're constantly having an experience of thoughts. Simple. It's evident. Your mind is evident. It's a very simple answer. Your emotions are evident. So is this clear? It's just evident. To whom? We don't have to philosophize who is this one. It's just evident. That is a fact. What if I say to you the word, hey, nuga luga luga? Do you know what this word means? No. So what does this mean? I don't know. I don't know is called what? Ignorance. Ignorance is evident. To whom is it evident? We need not say. To whomever it's evident, to that one it's evident. We don't even have to call it self. To whomever it's evident, to that one it's evident. To whom is it evident? To the one that is evident. What's evident to that one? Ignorance, knowledge, means of knowledge, memories, insights, epiphanies, understandings, pain, happiness. What is not evident to that one?
Everything.
Yeah, everything. We need not touch the subject. Don't even analyze the subject. Don't even call the subject the subject. To whomever it's evident right now, this experience, to that one it is evident. Why is it evident? Because the object is, but so is the subject. So is that one who is evident. The object is, but so is that one who is evident. But that one who is evident enjoys something else. What is that? Self-evidence. Is the object self-evident?
No.
So what's the only principle that is self-evident? That one who is self-evident. Who is that one? I don't know. I don't even have to say who they are. They're just self-evident. So object is, that one is, I am. But I am what? Self-evident. And in the presence of self-evident one, what happens? Objects are. Objects are. Objects take place. that self-evident one, not even have to use the word I, that self-evident one is called Sakshi, the witness. As though lights up everything. Lights up. When Atma, in reference to objects, becomes the witness, then Atma is now called Sakshi. Who is Sakshi? That one who is self-evident, and in the presence of the self-evident one, objects take place. And how is the Sakshi the witness? Because Sakshi is self-evident. Whatever comes in its presence becomes evident in its presence. Whatever comes in the presence of that one, of the Sakshi, also becomes evident. Is this experience evident to you? Why is it evident? Because this experience is, and I am, and in the presence of I am, the self-evident one, everything else becomes evidenced. Evidenced. In the presence of I, everything becomes evidenced. Understand? Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.